Hello, welcome everyone to the introduction of our podcast, Audaciousness. My name is Maribel Ortega.
And I'm Helen Strong. And the purpose of this podcast is that we would like to showcase individuals who have set themselves bold and audacious goals and taken the steps to achieve them. And the reason that we want to do this is one of the reasons we want to do this is to inspire others to also think about audacious goals that they might want to take, and also to show that even regular people like you and me can do these goals as well. That maybe the word audacious is not correct, it's just a goal, but we think other people think that they are utterly audacious.
Exactly. And it's in overcoming the fear of what the outcome might be, or listening too much to what other people might be saying, or trying to take you away from that. That's one of the most difficult things, and still do that in spite of that fear or whatever people are saying. That's really important.
Following your North Star.
Yeah, exactly. So, Helen, why don't you get a head start and tell us about one of your audacious goals? I mean, we've known each other for some years now, and I have a feeling that you had a hard time picking those three because there are so many. Can you tell us one?
Yeah, I mean, probably the one of the most audacious goals I think I did was when I was in my 20s, and I decided to change my life completely. I was living in the northeast of England where I had grown up, working in an office job in a company. I was married, I had a mortgage, house, car, dog, all of these things. And yet there was something that was just not quite right with my life. And so I decided to change my life completely, in that I left the company that I was working for. Um, I went to university to get a degree because I hadn't done that before. And then I went off to America, traveled a little bit in America. And then when I came back, I decided to move to Germany and start a whole new life in Germany, and ended up staying there for 20 years. And it was just the what caused me to do that was just that something wasn't right in my life. In my mid-20s, I'd recognized that. And I think if I hadn't done that when I was in my mid-20s, I wouldn't have been able to have huge changes in my life afterwards, because it was recognizing that, yes, you can change your life and it can turn out for the better. And even though people were saying, don't leave your job, don't do that. I just thought I have to, because, there's something within me, it was driving me, that I just couldn't continue the way that I was.
Yeah, I can imagine, but usually people are speaking from their own space and their own fears, and telling you not to do that, right?
Yeah. Did you have something similar?
Absolutely. Yes. Also in my 20s, I had been studying 5 years of medicine because that's what was expected of me, because that's the kind of profession that would give me a secure income and future. And also, you being a doctor is something very important, blah, blah. After 5 years of struggling doing that, I decided to drop out. So I dropped out of med school. I left the Dominican Republic. I was in Santiago de Chile. I was in Zurich in Switzerland. Then I came to Germany. In the meantime, I had a daughter, and when she was 1 year old, I decided, now I want to study what I wanted to study almost 10 years ago, and that is literature. And I did it, and this was the most audacious part of it, without knowing what kind of job I was going to have later. Most of the people said, "Ah, ha, ha, you studied to become a taxi driver." And you know what? Those 5 years were the best years of my life. I hated summer break and I hated winter break. I wanted to be studying literature all the time.
Mm, mm,
So those 5 years I did a bachelor's and a master's degree in literature, and that fulfilled me.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's what it's all about. It's when you know that something is not quite right. Like you knew that med school wasn't right for you,
No, yeah.
and yeah, you know, the whole literature just brought you joy. And what did you end up doing with the literature studies in the end?
In the end, things just fall in place. I started uh, using the linguistic part of those studies, and then I started teaching language.
Hmm.
That's what I did with what I had learned, because when you study literature, you also have to learn linguistics of those two languages, which were English and Spanish, what I had done. And that's how I started my adventure in working life at a very mature age of 29 or something. um and I've just kept moving along with what I felt that I had to do, because
Hmm.
I then later I didn't stay there in teaching the language, but we'll come later to that. What about you, Helen? What other audacious goal were you able to realize?
Yeah, yeah. I actually, before I say the second audacious school, I want to talk about. I want to say that's how we met. Then
Yeah.
the teaching, because the reason I moved to Germany was because I'd been working in a company. I did a degree in business studies. I thought I needed,
Mm.
I wanted to work in a large corporation, and I realized that that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to teach. And so I became a teacher. So the whole 20 years that I was in Germany, I was teaching. And that's where we met. About 10 years ago, I think, was where we met,
Yeah.
teaching English in the south of Germany.
Exactly.
So, if neither of us had followed our goals and gone into teaching and moved to Germany, then we wouldn't have met. So,
Exactly.
and then this podcast wouldn't have been.
Exactly.
So there's a reason.
Serendipity.
Exactly. There's a reason for everything.
Absolutely.
No, I'm going to talk about one more goal, which happened then 20 years. So I'd been in Germany for 20 years, but towards the end of this 20-year period, I'd been itching. Something again in me felt that it wasn't quite right. I wasn't happy in Germany, um, and 10 years previously, so 10 years ago, I'd been on a motorbike tour. Motorbike tours are something else I did. I went on a 6-month motorbike tour, with my motorbike, with my husband and his motorbike with a tent on the back. And we drove around for 6 months, went to Iceland, the Faroe Isles, Norway, and everything. That was another audacious goal. But on one of those motorbike tours, we were in the Outer Hebrides off the
Mm-hmm.
northwest coast of Scotland, and
Yeah.
I saw this house there. It was a little like stone thatched cottage with a with a stone cottage with a thatched roof, and I just thought, I'm going to live there. That's where I'm going to live when I'm older. And that seed was
Really?
planted. It was 2010, I remember. The seed was planted that that's where I wanted to be when I was older. I was around about 40 at the time. And this seed kind of kept growing in me for years and years and years. And then in about 2016, 17, it started getting bigger. And it's like, Helen, you need to do something. You need to
Mm-hmm.
move to the Outer Hebrides and
Mm-hmm.
realize your goal. And so in 2018, I I sold my apartment in Germany and bought a house in the Outer Hebrides. Um, and it was all kind of like, this is weird.
Just like
Why?
that.
Yeah, it's like, why am I doing this? But it was like I was being driven by this inner urge, kind of like, Helen, you have to do this. And my husband was working full time in a company which he didn't really want to give up at the time, but I persuaded him to give up and move out here with me. Um, and that was, I mean, what I've learned from that audacious goal was that I feel that it wasn't really driven by me, by Helen. it was as if the world was telling me that this is what I needed to do, and I was just the vessel through which it was being done. It's a really, really weird feeling, and it sounds a bit cool, but I just feel, everything then kind of dropped into place after that. And I know now, so we moved out here properly in 2019. So at the time of recording this, we've been here a year and a half. We ended up opening a bed and breakfast because the house that we bought was larger than the one I'd intended.
Mm-hmm.
And then just things started dropping into place. I stopped teaching. I did a coaching qualification, but realized that that wasn't what I wanted to do. What I want to do is speak to people, and especially about environmental issues. I'm so passionate about the environment now, that this is what's speaking to me. So don't know what's coming up in the future,
Mm-hmm.
but this is where I'm going. I'm just doing whatever feels right at the moment, and we'll see what the future holds for me. And so in terms of audaciousness, it's not that I'm saying, yes, this is what I want to do. It's very audacious and it's very bold that I'm doing. It's kind of like, I don't really know why I'm doing it. It's just I'm being guided and I'm being told to do
Mm-hmm.
this because I'm listening to what's inside and what's out there. It's weird.
Well, it could be just a wiser version of you that knows already
That's a good way of putting it. I like that one.
where you're going to.
A wiser version of me telling me. Could be.
Well, I don't know, Helen in 20 years who already knows where you need to be. Could be. I like that interpretation. But you know what? Exactly that description that you just gave, Helen, this, like, it feels weird, and maybe you're a little bit afraid of going into that. I have realized in every almost in every single audacious goal that I have set myself, and I have been able kind of like to reprogram myself to accept that as something positive. Exactly, precisely then when it feels scary and when it feels strange and uncomfortable, that's when you really have to do it.
Okay.
That's exactly how I felt when I was teaching hours and hours and hours at different companies through 4 language schools and earning very little. And I felt, what's the purpose of this? And I don't understand this. And the only way of earning a little bit more money is teaching more. And I don't want to do that because till then I decided, okay, I'm gonna get my own clients, and that felt so scary because this security that I thought I had through the language school was I was gonna leave that, but in the end, I just it was good. I did it in spite of that fear, and the same thing happened when I after that. Then I got some clients and things were going well, and then I was doing group coaching, and but then I realized this is all okay, and I'm happy with that, but I'm not changing anything. I'm not
Mm,
adding anything that really means a lot to me. And it was then thinking about it when I thought, I want to help women. I want to help women that are where I was when I was 25, 26, with lack of self esteem, a lot of self doubt, afraid to speak up, afraid to give my opinion. Um, I know how to get out of there, and I want to help them, and this is what's going to fulfill me. And again, it was scary because I didn't
mm,
know how that was going to develop. I didn't know, is there going to be enough for, in terms of paying my bills and whatever. But the same thing was when I was studying literature. You just do it because you feel this is what makes sense,
yeah,
and it's fulfilling.
yeah.
And yeah, that's what I feel that I need to do now and what I want to focus in, and I'm going still through this transition of focusing my coaching to support women who need to learn to be gracious to themselves, to be
Mm,
good, to accept themselves, that to understand that perfection is doesn't exist, and that the uniqueness uh, of each one of us, that's where fulfillment lies, and that those are the jewels.
definitely. Yeah. And I think, and it's a really good feeling when you find your role in life, isn't
Yeah,
it? You know what you're meant to be doing.
yeah,
And it's just you're sitting in that position where you just feel this is right. It's just a such a wonderful place to be. And do you
yeah.
remember when you first raised the idea with me of doing this podcast a few years ago, a few months
A few
ago?
months ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, well, the thing is that you and I, Helen, we are a fantastic team, and we have
We have
different
worked together before.
strengths.
That's true. Yes.
Well, but what I mean is that we have different strengths, and your strengths are in getting things organized, planning them, and making things happen, um and one of my strengths is just dreaming big and having lots of ideas, and that's why I get enthusiastic when I have this one little idea, and I think, oh my goodness, this could be something great. Yes, I remember telling you after having during the lockdown, and after we're having a lot more conversations that we have had before, and I said, oh my goodness, Helen, these conversations that we're having, let's do a podcast. People, you should have seen Helen's face. That was like, ah, what?
Yeah, my little inner critic was saying, don't say yes, say no, no, say no." And what I came out with was, yeah, I
You
guess.
think?
To which you said, "Well, don't sound so enthusiastic about it." But yes, but then I calmed my inner critic and said, "Yes, it's going to be all right. Maribel knows what she's doing, and you just organise whatever Maribel says she wants." And it's worked. So what we've managed to do since then is contact some bold and audacious people. They've
Exactly.
happened to be women this time, but that's just because they happen to be. And we've interviewed 6 people and asked them about their audacious goals. And each of the interviews lasts around about half an hour.
Exactly.
And so what the podcast, the finished podcast is where Maribel and I are having a conversation, the type of
Mm,
conversation we're having just now.
exactly.
And then we listen to the interview that we've pre-recorded, and then we talk about it afterwards. And some of the goals that people have set themselves could be career goals, like the ones that we said, we're not happy with our career, and
Mm.
we wanted I wanted to change. um, what else? What were the other ones? Setting up a company is another one.
Yes, also just personal family goals of things
Mm,
that you as a family want to do together, or personal convictions
mhm,
of about the planet, or just things that are important to you.
exactly. So we
Remember what you said, Helen, after doing the, or I don't know, maybe it was an email that you said, that you wrote, doing these interviews, that it has been, do you remember that it's just incredible? It
mm,
has made at least me become better, grown,
mm.
just really good conversations.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we can take away, that even if nobody listens to this podcast, Maribel,
We enjoyed those
we've enjoyed
conversations.
doing it,
Absolutely.
and we've learned a lot, and we've grown a lot, and that's the main thing.
Exactly. Nonetheless, it would be great if some people start listening to our podcast and tell other people that they think might be interested about it. We are going to launch the podcast next week on the 13th of January. Well, from the day that we're recording, and we are going to have 3 seasons. That's right, Helen.
That's right. 6 episodes in each season,
Mm.
which means 18 podcasts in the whole year, and they'll come out every second week. So it'll always be on a Wednesday, the first one on the 13th of January, and then every second Wednesday they'll come out. And it'll be around about 60 minutes
Yeah,
of each podcast, and you can listen on wherever you listen to your podcasts.
exactly. If you think that you would like to have a conversation with us, then reach out either to Helen or to me. Or maybe you don't you know someone who has achieved an audacious goal, then tell us. We would be thrilled to have a conversation with them, because we're convinced that it's important to show to as many people as possible that getting to those goals, it is important, it is very fulfilling, and you can be just you and achieve those goals. You don't have to be anyone famous or special, whatever you think you have to be. Anyone can do whatever
Exactly.
goal they
Yeah.
set themselves to.
Yeah. And you'll make the world a better place as a result. If you're happy, more people around you will be happy.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for listening. Let's get excited with us with the launching of our Audaciousness podcast.
See you soon.
Yeah, see you. Bye.
Bye.